You're listening to the Confident Choice Podcast with me, Dr. Roberto Garcia, a double board certified facial plastic and reconstructive surgeon. Honest conversations and expert advice about the decisions that make you feel your best.
Let's talk some basketball, boys. Fun time of the year. March is upon us.
One of the best.
I got a Dookie and I got a Gator. Probably going to be 2 number 1 seeds. We hope. We'll see. Who knows?
I'm not so sure about that one.
Tell us why Duke's going to be a number 2 seed.
Well, I think you'd have to get the moves to get in weird alignment for that to happen. We can talk about why Florida might slip to the number 2 line, or try and jump to the number 1. I mean, for Duke, they've just been a top team all year, right? I mean, so in terms of seeding, I don't think there's anything that could happen at this point that takes Duke off the number 1 line. Actually, I don't think there's any
number 1 overall.
If they win out, they'll be number 1 overall.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can pass them. If they were to lose, Michigan wins out, then Michigan probably jumps to number 1 overall.
Yeah.
But given that Duke's got the head-to-head.
Yeah, and they worked them too.
I mean that was a impressive game.
That was impressive
by Duke, right? I mean, obviously it's a neutral court, but still, that was a big signature win for Duke.
Yeah.
And they've only lost 2 games all year, and they were up double digits in both games, right? They lost to Carolina. They were behind in that game for only 0.4 seconds.
That's the swarming of the court
game.
game.
Swarming of the court game.
That must have hurt a little bit.
That one's tough. I mean, obviously losing.
Yeah, but they're going to get some retribution this weekend.
I feel pretty good, and obviously Carolina's been a bit beat up, right? So that's and then Texas Tech, right? Texas Tech's probably got the best wins of any team this season, right? They've got wins against basically all of the top teams. Now, the JT Toppin's out, and so they've got some challenges, in terms of where they're going to end up in the tournament. But those, but they're certainly a team that anyone should be scared to play.
Yeah. So tell me, so there's twins. The Boozer twins.
Yeah.
So they're freshmen.
They're freshmen, obviously they come from a strong pedigree, with dad who, played in the NBA, dad who played at Duke, right?
Dominated at Duke.
And, Carlos was great, and, and the boys are both great. The most impressive thing, I think, at this point is, if you look at Cam, I can't see how he hasn't locked up National Player of the Year. He's just been that consistently good all season long. He in all aspects of the game, right? He's dominant when it comes to scoring. He's dominant when it comes to rebounds. He's dominant when it comes to assists. And so he's solid in defender. He can step out. He can shoot the 3. He can take people down low, right? So he's got a complete game. Obviously, he'll be in the NBA next year.
You think he's going to go out that early?
Oh
yeah.
What about his brother? Does he stick around?
I think his brother will stay. His brother is, started the season and has worked his way more reliably into the rotation. He's a key contributor. Has helped Duke's backcourt, right? I mean, early in the season, that was probably the one question mark was, how good was Duke's backcourt going to be? Right now, they're a top tier, not elite. They're not the best, but they are an incredibly strong backcourt, and I think that's what's going to help Duke make a run this year.
Who has the best backcourt?
I mean,
of the top
Arizona,
of the potential top seeds.
Arizona's got a great backcourt, but somewhat prone to turnovers, right? So but they've got size, they've got scoring. I like that backcourt a lot. If you're UConn, I think UConn is probably the most balanced of all the teams out there.
They're well coached.
Well coached.
At this point, if I had to just have one coach in one game, I think I'd go with Hurley.
Yeah.
You know, like I think he can draw you up. If you need one play to win a game and you got to score on it, I'd want Hurley drawn up.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Golden, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, you got to admit that what Golden has been able to do, that team was gutted. At least the backcourt was. And, I mean,
Yeah,
he's turned
guys,
around.
You know, Clayton, Martin, and Richards, all three go to the NBA.
Yeah.
Had two transfers come in, Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland.
Yeah.
And they had a rough start. They didn't really mesh as well. Their shooting was off. It looked like may not have been the best decision from Golden, but you have seen, you know, over the course of the season, really even when they couldn't shoot, he's kept them in to, you know, pass the ball, play defense,
In and out.
get rebounds,
Yeah.
push the tempo,
Yeah.
and now their shots starting to drop, and they've really meshed with the front court, which has always been the strength of Florida.
Yeah.
For the last couple of years at least, and they're looking pretty strong.
I mean, there's the last 5 games or something, they're averaging 65, 70 points in the paint. You know, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And those bigs move up and down the court
They do.
very well.
They do. I will be, you know, interested to see when they get up against a team like Michigan, who's got a really.
They're also big.
Obviously Duke's got a big front court. Right. You know, it'll be interesting to see them challenged as you get late into the tournament.
Yeah.
I think also one of the things that, as I was thinking about just basketball overall this year and going into the tournament, and Florida is kind of a perfect example of that. You know, I thought of Florida last year as a team that could beat you offensively. This year, Florida's going to try and beat you defensively.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think if you look across the top teams, almost all of them are defense first,
Yeah.
right? And in most years, you're sitting there thinking you need one great team to just go on an explosive run and they're going to win. A great offense, usually in the tournament, can beat a great defense if you get one guy who's really hot and you just can't figure out how to stop him. I don't know if that's true this year. Right? Like I look at the top teams. I mean, Duke's #1 in defense. You know, Michigan is #3. Right? Like, you know, all of the teams are
top 10.
top 10
Yeah.
defensive teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting.
But
I
they
think
still score. They're playing really good defense, and they can still.
they
score.
can still score, but it's less of an emphasis on we're just going to, like, we're not going to try and score 100
Right.
points on you, or like we're not going to try and run it up. Like, they're all going to try and suffocate the opposing offense while being efficient on offense.
Yeah, and the big thing there is all these guys, defensive boards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, their ability for defensive rebounding is incredible. They
Yeah.
give teams one shot.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get Chinyelu in the paint, and you get Hawk or Condon, those guys are going to box you out.
Yeah.
And same thing with Duke's bigs.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, when you look back at the great Chicago teams,
Right.
the Bulls games,
Yeah.
what do they have? Great defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan would clap down on you, and then you weren't going to out rebound Rodman.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how you win.
It is, but that hasn't been the trend line, right? You know, and I think it'll be interesting.
Oh, it's definitely not the NBA trend.
Well, no,
anymore.
the
Every
NBA
game's an all-star game.
The NBA trend line, that's a whole different thing. But, you know, even in college basketball, you know, there's been more of an emphasis in the final, you know, as you get into the Final Four on somebody who gets hot and somebody who, you know, really is able to carry a team. And so I think this is an interesting year that we have a lot of elite defenses coupled with efficient offenses, right? Like, because you think about it, like, who's the guy who's going to go score, you know, 30 points for Florida?
No one.
No one.
Right.
I mean, you may
Florida
get
does not have
somebody
that
get
guy.
hot.
They don't have the Walter Clayton this year,
Right.
Like they had last year. A guy that can create his own shot. In fact, Florida really maybe the only guy that they have is Urban Clevejar, who comes off the bench. That he's a very good three-point shooter. But again, somebody to create a shot, they don't really have that. Their offense flows from the defense, from tempo, from passing. It's definitely a team approach at Florida right now that versus last year that it was less
One guy
about
will take
defense.
over.
And there was a guy that 5 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, you could give the ball to, and you know that he can create his own shot.
Yeah, but it's interesting, man. I've seen more alley-oops from the Gators this year than I've ever seen in my life. I feel like I'm, watching one of those 70s movies or, hey, we invented this thing called the alley-oop.
Yeah,
Okay,
a
you
lot
just
of
toss
lobs.
it up in the air.
Yeah.
They practice that a lot.
I think it'll be interesting, when I think about the top teams, right? Because there are 5 clear top teams, right? Like you've got Duke, Michigan, Arizona, UConn, and Florida, right? They I think sit a level above, and nobody's really disputing, who the top 5 are, right? But it's interesting to think about what can beat any one of them, right? Like, so if you were to attack the team, like if you were to say, okay, who do you build to go after Florida? I think you want a team who can be explosive offensively, right? Because I think Florida would struggle with
The
that.
streaky three-point shooter.
Yeah, you get an Illinois team who can shoot threes lights out, and if they just get on a roll, I think that's hard for Florida to
Well, and that
you're one and done in the tournament.
Right.
So
Yeah, well,
all
and
it
that
takes
comes
is-
down to, I don't know if you and I were talking about it, but you draw a 2 seed, okay? Now you're playing a 15, and you're playing like a Miami of Ohio team, or maybe even an Ivy League school, which are, literally 8 3-point shooters on that
Right.
team, and if they
Right.
draw heat, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
It
how those
happened in the game,
15s.
but especially in the tournament.
Yeah.
I think you get a team like Liberty this year, right? Who plays kind of a slow, deliberate style with like excellent 3-point shooting. Like that's a tough recipe for where you could get an upset, right? Because you're sitting there going, okay, or you get a disruptive, Utah Valley, right? UC Irvine, who are like athletic but defensive. They got some size, right? And just those are the teams when you're looking for the Cinderella. At least in the first couple rounds,
Yeah.
they get hot in one game or 2 games.
That's all it takes.
and that's all it takes. It's hard to see any of those teams, making a 6-game run, but for 1 or 2 rounds,
Right.
They get to the
it's
Sweet
super-
16.
And it happens every year.
And it happens every year.
Every year, and it's like the worst seeds are to be is the 2 and the 5 seed.
Yeah.
Those always seem to be, oh my gosh, Princeton is going to do it.
Right.
And if you're a 5 seed, there's absolutely every year 1 to 2 5 seeds go out in the first round.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting though.
I'm excited to see this season. I think the other thing I was looking at was just there's a lot of high quality teams, right? In the who will be 1, 2, 3 seeds, and then there's in the teams that are kind of in that 4 to 7 range. It gets scary as in their softness there, right? Like a bunch of these teams are kind of limping in. Kansas is limping in. Kentucky is limping in. Like Tennessee, BYU has fallen off. And so you've got a bunch of teams where if they can revert to early season form, maybe they're scary. Or you're going to have these top seeds just flying through, never really tested, and it's hard to say which.
But you definitely want to be playing your best ball at this time of the year.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed. And again, I'm kind of a homer, but I'm really impressed with guys like Hurley and Golden. That you now have to be a CEO, right? You're literally Mike Krzyzewski in the early '90s, putting together the Olympic team, right? You got a very short window to put a team together and make them gel. And these guys do that now masterfully. And Golden he's really beginning to be. And again, I want to hear
Yeah.
about your Duke coach.
Well, with the transfer portal, that's allowed these coaches to be able to do that very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? You can, before it was really a few teams that could do that: Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, guys that would get the 5-star, the McDonald All-Americans.
Yeah.
But now you can get some guys that mesh exactly with what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
With the guys that are coming back from the year before, and you guys coming in, and it makes a difference. And you could, if you have the right coach, you can build a team pretty quickly. And by the end of the season, like again, this is when you want to be playing your best basketball. And they're 30 games into this thing, so they've built a team and they're ready to go.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. You look, there's now a bunch of different formulas for how to build, teams, right? Because I look at Florida, I look at Michigan. Great job transfer portal, right? And so they've done a really good job with that. Shire at Duke, Duke doesn't do that, right? Duke is a one and done team.
Right.
They have been for years now. Coach K made that change years back, right? It used to, if you went back to the early '90s, it was a lot of senior-led teams,
Yeah.
right? It was all about kind of building up teams over 3-4 years. There's no 3 or 4 year building anywhere now,
No.
right? Like
No.
now it's either you're going to get there with more seasoned players through the portal, or
Yeah.
you're going to get there through a heavier reliance on one and done, freshman heavy teams.
Well, it seems like Duke does a really good job, John, and correct me if I'm wrong, of picking that one stud out of high school every year. Like they get the cream of the crop guy and they build a team around that guy, like they did with Cooper Flagg last year.
Yeah, I would say it's usually bigger than the one guy, right? Last year they had Contoura, they had Cooper Flagg, right? Like they usually have
Two or
at
three
least
guys.
2 or 3
Yeah.
NBA
future
caliber,
NBA stars.
freshmen.
Yeah.
And and so that is their formula. Now they're uniquely positioned to do. There aren't many teams who can just go out and say, well, we're going to pick 3 guys who are going to come in the same class and are likely to be in the top first round of the NBA next year. That's a pretty rarefied air. But that's what that's what they've got now, right? They've built that program.
And that's a selling point to high school recruits, right?
Of course.
Hey, listen, we're going to get you into the NBA.
If you look at the NBA now, there's more Duke players than anyone else, right? And you look at who's recently come out, and it's Duke basketball player, right? So that is their pitch, right? Their pitch is, we're going to set you up for success. You're going to be on TV. You're going to get primetime games, your entire freshman year. You'll get the notoriety, and you'll be in a program that's going to be competing for a national championship, right? That's
And the NIL dollars don't hurt.
And the NIL dollars don't hurt, right? But so they're there. But I think it's interesting because you can build teams and programs in opposite ways, right? And the biggest risk for a team like Duke, built like Duke, is these are still 18-year-old kids,
Right.
Like who've never been there.
Yeah.
And they've never done it. Now, they're on TV. They've got pressure games all through the season. They play tough schedules. So at this point, they're 30 games in.
Yeah.
With knowing the expectations.
So, George, you were kind of down on Condon earlier in the season, but now he's flipped the script, hasn't he?
I didn't think he was really progressing. This is his 3rd year. I didn't think you didn't really see the progression, especially on his offensive game. He's always been great defensively. He's always been a high motor guy, and running up and down the court. Great passer, great team player, but offensively just seemed very, very limited. And but really, I don't know what happened. I think probably after the Auburn loss, which is I think the last loss Florida now.
Yeah, that was in January sometime, right?
Yeah, he's really now come on offensively, and we need it. to do so, right? And
Yeah.
he's playing best basketball that he's played since.
You think he
coming to
stays
Florida.
after this year?
No.
You think he's gone?
Yeah, I think it's another rebuild for Florida. I think all the bigs.
Hawk as well.
I think Hawk, Condon, Shinyelu, I think they're all gone, NBA bound.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you gotta rebuild. I mean, this is the world of the portal.
Yeah,
you know, that's what we live in.
Yeah, I don't think you can be planning on a team and players for more than 2 years. I mean, if they're high, elite players, you've got them for 1-2 years max, and then I mean that's the reality of it. And so you've got to be good at recruiting, you got to be good at the portal, you got to be good at managing through, and then quickly getting a team to coalesce. I mean, the interesting stat for you is every one of the teams for the last 21 years who's won the national title has been in the top 12 of the AP poll in week 6. It's a weird fluke stat.
Now,
Florida
was not. So are you?
How in the world did you find that statistic?
That is a stat that floats around.
That sounds like ChatGPT.
Yeah, that one floats around. People talk.
You've been waiting to say that one all season long.
That one floats around. People talk about the adjusted efficiency metrics, right? You got to be in the top, 20 in offense, top, top, 20 in defense, those types of metrics. The funniest one that people bring up reliably, because it's just such a weird fluke, is you need to be in the top 12 in week 6 of the AP poll.
Wow.
Which is 21 straight years.
Well, so then that brings me to my next.
The Gators are going to break that.
Yeah.
next
Well,
week, this year.
that brings me to my next question. What exactly is a Blue Devil?
A national champ in waiting.
Anybody answer that question for me? I mean, Fire and Brimstone would teach us that he's not blue.
I mean, look, it's a good color.
Yeah. And by the way, you guys have the market share on all ads when they bring up mascots. The Blue Devil, and who do they show for the Gators? The female Gator.
Yes,
it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
There's some conspiracy there.
Yeah, probably the CEO. All these high tech guys are all Duke guys anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's something that's been kind of, I mean, I don't know what the right answer. They're trying to form this board now with the president with the NCAA, like what's the right answer? How do we handle the NIL and the portal? I mean, what's your take on it?
I think it's unsustainable the way it is right now. It's went from these kids couldn't take $20 to go buy a meal at McDonald's to now they're getting millions of dollars. They can move from team to team, play immediately, which again was not the case years back.
No.
And I think I'm glad that the athletes are getting compensated.
Yeah.
I mean, this is multi hundreds of millions of dollars in NCAA sports, and they weren't getting their share. But the pendulum I think has swung too much to one side.
Yeah.
I think it's probably, again, not sustainable. I don't think it's good for the sport. I'm hoping that somehow we find a measure that is good for the team, it's good for the player, it's good for the fans.
I mean, but at some point, John, you gotta put a limit on the number of transfers that somebody can make, and there's got to be some kind of I mean, back in the old days, what was it? You lose a year of eligibility, right?
You had to sit out a year. You didn't lose the year, but you had to sit out a year, right? So so you'd be there for 5 years. I mean, you have a few problems going on right now, right? You've got guys who are going into their 5th, 6th, 7th year. Like you've got guys who are now into, you know,
There was
23,
an
24.
eight-year tight end for
Yeah,
Miami, wasn't there?
because of the COVID years and
Because
all
of the
that. No
COVID
one
years,
wants to
like-
graduate now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so you're 26 years old and you're playing NCAA. Like, there's something.
You haven't been to class in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny when they asked Carson Beck about, you know, like how
It's been 2 years.
how class has been, you know, in the run up to, you know, the national championship game. And he's like, I graduated a year ago. Like, yeah, I mean, he was in disbelief that they would even bring up class. Like, it has nothing to
Is
do
it
with
studying film class? Then yes, I'm in class.
So I think it's interesting, and I think each sport has a slightly different challenge, right? When it comes to basketball, you have the phenomenon of one and done, which is that's not an NFL.
It's not available to the,
Yeah.
No,
So
so
that's-
that'd be a sophomore, right?
Football players.
You can't go into the NFL till you're a sophomore.
And so you've got some challenges that are unique to each sport. What I'd love to see is a little bit of more of you've got to give a school 2 years, right? You know, but as opposed to you're a free agent after each season.
Yeah.
You know, that fine, you can switch a couple times, you know, but you've got to sit there and you can carve out if the coach leaves,
Right.
you know, all bets are off, right? Because guys go to commit to play for a coach.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see a little bit of a cap when it just comes to this. Every year, everybody's a free agent.
Yeah, it's the Wild West right now.
Yeah.
They got to bring it in. So, well, listen, guys. I mean, I think this is like I said, this is the most exciting time of the year.
Right.
And then we got opening weekend of baseball coming up in April. We're not going to get into baseball, don't worry.
We're not gonna do this.
But yeah, so thank you both for being on the show.
We're hopeful that it's Florida Duke.
Yeah,
With the right team winning.
Yeah, with the right
Go
team.
Gators.
Winning. We'll just find out. John's going to research what a Blue Devil actually is. All right, thanks again, guys. Have a great one. All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
You got it.